Ladies and gentlemen, honorable adjudicators, members of the House, and the proposition team that I respected. Ladies and gentlemen, the government today create an assumption that profit automatically make AI become dangerous or even creates harm to our societies. But they fail to actually prove that the root problem is really caused by the profit structure itself. Meanwhile, in our side of our house, we believe that the main problem is caused by the lack of regulations and also governance. Proud to be oppositions. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get to know to the definition of today's motion. This house rejects OpenAI transitions toward a for-profit structure, right? And also, what is OpenAI? So OpenAI is a company that was made in 2015 by Elon Musk and his friend, right? And also the transition itself means that OpenAI changing from a non-profit into a public benefit corporations. And what we should pay attention to is public benefit corporation or PBC itself still allowed to make profit while also pursuing the public benefit goals. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe that this transition actually creates more good rather than harm to the OpenAI itself and to our societies. Ladies and gentlemen, as the first speaker from the negative team, I will do three things today. First, I will rebut the proposition's argument. Second, I will give you my argument. And three, I will give you stanzas and examples. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our first rebuttal, right? Government team said that AI products was pushed to release as soon as possible, even before they're ready. But ladies and gentlemen, in a world where demand effectiveness that is also fast, the market pressure itself can actually create safety to ensure the quality of the product itself. Ladies and gentlemen, the government team have failed to prove by using profit structure means that we sacrifices the safety itself. In reality, profit creates incentive, not only innovation, but also can be used for maintaining reliability and also safety. Ladies and gentlemen, government just assumes that because a company is seeking for profit, it means that they sacrifice safety and quality. It isn't logic, doesn't it? The investor itself will eventually supervise the performance of their product that they invest to, because they don't want their money just to be wasted, right? And ladies and gentlemen, if we use the proposition's logic, then the question is why the biggest AI company right now is spending millions or even billions of dollars to ensure the quality of alignment team and safety testing in AI itself. Ladies and gentlemen, our second rebuttal is that proposition said that the only thing that investors give care about is just about money. I'm 100% disagree with this, and this isn't logic. Why? Because in reality, AI investor instead need sustainability because the AI industry itself already costs billions of dollars. If they do just care about the short-term businesses, they will just let them to such a big loss and lose their wealth in such a big scale, right? And ladies and gentlemen, our third rebuttal is that government team have said that this kind of system that today's AI have can create an AI bubbles. But let's be logic, ladies and gentlemen, this kind of bubble actually have been used and already exists in almost every sector in the internet and technologies industries. Ladies and gentlemen, for example, TikTok, right? We all know about TikTok. They also create such bubbles because many companies and investors spend big scale of money that is also creates a massive and competitive investment. Yet today, it has so much of transform marketing that often get changed and adjust within what today's people need and also have their education and even a digital economies globally. Ladies and gentlemen, our fourth rebuttal is that government assumes that the slower process creates a safer and safety system. But safety development exists when the product itself already been used, right? Without a fast and good deployment, the society itself cannot understand the risk of using the AI. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe that the faster the AI can grow and be used, it is actually better for the societies and the investors because it creates a better system to adjust what the people needs right now, as we know that today's it can get changed easily and frequently. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our argument. So our first argument, that is profit-oriented structure, is a realistic needs to grow the AI itself. Why? Because a capped profit system cannot guarantee the growing of the AI, because these AI industries in reality need a really big and stable scale of budget, right? And ladies and gentlemen, in impact with this kind of profitable system, we can actually have a better and a more guaranteed of system that can give more budget and enough budget to actually grow the AI, can actually make sure and ensures the safety and quality is safe and good for everyone, right? And ladies and gentlemen, our second argument, that is a profit structure AI will also create a safer and more accountable system. Why? Because AI itself, as we all know, need a really big resources, right? And we cannot also guarantee that non-profit is really, it's automatically better rather than a profit system. And non-profit itself can actually do bias, can actually do a lack of accountability or transparency, can do actually things that go wrong, right? And meanwhile, in our side of our house, a profit structure instead can give us more accountability and also more responsible system. Why? Because it gets supervised by the regulation, it also gets supervised by the media, investors, and also users. Ladies and gentlemen, with this kind of profit structure, we have a more sustained and growing kind of AI. Ladies and gentlemen, this kind of profit structure also have a public pressures that the non-profit doesn't have, and this can be functioned to keep the safety of our product. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, government only shows that AI has risks, which we all agree and know, right? But they have felt that limiting OpenAI to be less profit-oriented can stop those risks that they have said. Ladies and gentlemen, AI will keep growing, but in our side of our house, AI will grow with great and enough budget and healthier competitions and also larger capacity. Ladies and gentlemen, our team firmly believes that this motion will create more harm rather than good. This is because an AI industry itself needs such a big budget, and we as the opposition can offer that kind of budget and a reliable system. Ladies and gentlemen, therefore, we strongly believe that this motion shouldn't stand, because the real danger isn't a profitable AI, but the underfunded AI. Proud to be oppositions. Thank you.